Dr. Kim Tai pressed his face against the cold metal of Research Station Alpha 7's observation window, his breath fogging the reinforced glass as he stared into the howling darkness beyond. The ice storm had been relentless for 3 days now, turning the alien world's surface into a frozen wasteland where nothing should survive. Wind speeds reached over 200 kilometers per hour, carrying razor-sharp ice crystals that could strip flesh from bone in seconds. He'd been alone on this remote research outpost for 6 months, studying the geological formations of Kepler-442b's polar region. The isolation didn't bother him much. Kim Tai had always preferred the quiet company of his instruments and data logs to the bustling corridors of Earth's space stations. But tonight felt different. Tonight, the storm seemed angry, almost alive. As it battered his small station with supernatural fury, the proximity sensors had been acting strange all evening, picking up phantom readings that appeared and disappeared like ghosts in the swirling snow. Kim Tai had dismissed them as interference from the electromagnetic chaos of the storm until he saw the heat signatures on his thermal scanner, 3 distinct shapes, huddled together against the outer hull of his station, their body temperatures dropping dangerously low. At first, he thought his equipment was malfunctioning. Nothing could survive outside in these conditions. The temperature had dropped to minus 60 degrees Celsius, and the wind chill made it feel like the surface of a frozen moon. But as he adjusted his sensors and cleared the ice from his external cameras, Kim Tai saw them clearly for the first time. They were massive, easily twice the size of Earth bears, with thick fur that seemed to shimmer and catch what little light filtered through the storm. The largest one, clearly an adult, had wrapped its powerful arms round to smaller forms, pressing them against its body in a desperate attempt to share warmth. Their fur appeared to have an almost crystalline quality, reflecting the station's emergency lights in rainbow patterns that danced across their forms. Kim Tai's heart raced as he realized what he was witnessing. These weren't just animals seeking shelter. They were intelligent beings, the way the adult positioned itself to shield the young ones from the worst of the wind. The deliberate choice to seek refuge against his station rather than in the open wilderness, everything about their behavior screamed of conscious thought and parental love. His training kicked in immediately. First contact protocols were clear and non-negotiable. Any encounter with unknown alien species required immediate isolation, comprehensive scanning, and direct communication with Earth Command. The procedures existed for a good reason. Humanity had learned hard lessons about the dangers of uncontrolled contact with alien life forms, disease, contamination, hostile intentions. The risks were too great to ignore. Kim Tai's fingers moved automatically to his communication console, ready to send the priority alert that would bring a fleet of military vessels to his location within days. But as he prepared to transmit, something made him pause. One of the smaller forms, one of the cubs, had stopped moving entirely. Its tiny body lay motionless in the adult's embrace. And even through the storm, Kim Tai could see the larger being's distress. The adult creature turned toward his station, and their eyes met through the reinforced viewport. In that moment, Kim Tai saw something that shook him to his core. Intelligence, yes, but more than that, he saw desperation, fear, and a parent's helpless anguish as it watched its child dying in its arms. The creature's eyes were large and expressive, filled with an unmistakably human emotion that transcended species barriers. Kim Tai's hand froze over the communication controls. Earth Command would mobilize immediately upon receiving his report, but their response would take time, hours at minimum, possibly days depending on fleet positions and bureaucratic delays. These beings didn't have hours. The thermal readings were dropping steadily, and the smallest cub's life signs were already fading. The storm howled louder, as if nature itself was mocking his indecision through the viewport. He watched the adult creature struggle to revive its motionless young, breathing warm air over the tiny form and rubbing its crystalline fur with growing desperation. The second cub was barely conscious, its movements weak and sporadic. Kim Tai looked at his hands, steady and warm inside the station's controlled environment. Then, at the emergency airlock controls just meters away, red warning lights blinked, steadily above the manual override switch, reminding him of the protocols he'd sworn to uphold. But those protocols had been written by people who'd never stood face to face with a dying child. Regardless of species, the adult creature pressed, its face against the viewport, leaving a frosty mark on the glass. Its breath created small clouds of vapor that instantly crystallized in the brutal cold. In its eyes, Kim Tai saw a silent plea that needed no translation. "Help us. Save them, please." Time was running out, and Kim Tai faced the most important decision of his life. Kim Tai's hand trembled as it hovered just centimeters above the emergency airlock controls. The red warning lights cast an ominous glow across his face, and the safety protocols he'd memorized during years of training echoed in his mind like a broken record. Article 7 of the Interstellar Contact Code was crystal clear. No direct contact with unknown alien species without proper containment procedures. Article 12 demanded immediate quarantine protocols. Article 15 required a minimum 12-hour decontamination cycle before any physical interaction. But those articles had been written by bureaucrats sitting safely in climate-controlled offices on Earth, not by someone watching a child die in a frozen wasteland. The station's automated systems had already detected his proximity to the airlock controls. A synthetic voice began its warning sequence, cold and emotionless in the face of the crisis unfolding outside. Warning: emergency airlock activation detected. Please confirm authorization codes for alien contact protocols. Warning: unauthorized. Breach may result in contamination, court-martial, or termination of research privileges. Kim Tai wanted to punch the speaker. Instead, he pressed his palm flat against the viewport, matching it to the adult creature's massive paw on the other side of the reinforced glass. The being's crystalline fur was beautiful even in its frozen state, each strand catching and refracting the station's lights like tiny prisms. But beauty couldn't hide the fact that ice crystals were forming round its eyes. And its breathing had become labored and shallow. The smallest cub hadn't moved. In over 3 minutes, its tiny chest barely rose and fell, and Kim Tai could see frost forming on its snout. The second cub was trying to burrow deeper into its parent's embrace, seeking warmth that was rapidly fading from all three bodies. "Think, Kim Tai, think," he muttered to himself, running his hands through his black hair. His tablet showed the external temperature dropping another 2 degrees. At this rate, all three beings would be dead within the hour, regardless of what he decided to do. The station's medical bay was equipped with advanced healing pods designed for human physiology. But the basic life support functions might work on other species. His environmental controls could handle atmospheric adjustments, and the decontamination chambers could isolate potential pathogens. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than watching them freeze to death. Kim Tai pulled up the station's database, scrolling frantically through xenobiology references. Most of the data was theoretical. Humanity had encountered microbial alien life on 17 different worlds, but nothing this complex, nothing this obviously intelligent. The creatures outside represented the first potential for actual communication with another spacefaring species, assuming they survived the next few minutes. His fingers danced across the control panel, overriding safety system after safety system. Each override required his personal authorization code, creating a digital trail that would undoubtedly end his career. But Kim Tai had never cared much about career advancement anyway. He'd become a xenobiologist to study life in all its forms, not to watch it die because of bureaucratic red tape. The adult creature suddenly pressed both paws against the viewport, its large eyes wide with what could only be described as hope. Somehow, it understood what Kim Tai was considering. The intelligence behind those eyes was unmistakable. This wasn't just an animal seeking shelter, but a thinking being making a conscious choice to trust a complete stranger with its family's lives. "Protocol be damned," Kim Tai whispered, his voice barely audible over the howling wind outside. His finger stabbed down on the emergency airlock release button. Alarms immediately began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in chaotic patterns as the automated systems registered the unauthorized breach. The outer airlock door groaned against the tremendous pressure of the storm before slowly grinding open, revealing a swirling vortex of snow and ice that invaded the chamber like a living thing. The three aliens tumbled inside the moment the door opened wide enough. They were crystalline for crackling as ice formation shattered against the airlock's metal floor. The adult creature immediately gathered both cubs against its chest, its powerful lungs creating a protective barrier as Kim Tai fought to seal the outer door against the storm's fury. Wind speeds inside the airlock reached dangerous levels, threatening to tear the aliens back into the frozen wasteland. Kim Tai braced himself against the control panel, his muscles straining as he manually forced the door mechanism to engage. Snow whipped round the chamber like tiny daggers, cutting his exposed skin and making it impossible to see clearly. Finally, the outer door slammed shut with a metallic bang that echoed through the station. The sudden silence was deafening after hours of constant wind. Kim Tai's ears were ringing, and his hands were numb from the cold that had invaded his sanctuary. The three aliens lay motionless in the airlock, their fur covered in deadly ice formations. That made them look like frozen sculptures. The adult's chest still rose and fell, but weakly. The larger cub was unconscious but breathing. The smallest one showed no signs of life at all. Kim Tai activated the inner airlock door and grabbed the emergency medical kit from the wall. His heart pounded as he realized the full magnitude of what he'd just done. He'd violated every regulation in the book, potentially contaminated his station, and risked his life for three beings he'd never seen before. But as he knelt beside the alien family and saw the adult creature's eyes flutter open with gratitude, Kim Tai knew he'd made the right choice. Now came the hard part, keeping them alive. The station's medical bay hummed with activity as Kim Tai worked frantically to save his unexpected guests. The warming chambers he'd improvised from emergency heating units were finally bringing the aliens' body temperatures back to safe levels. Their crystalline fur, which had been rigid and brittle with ice just hours before, was now beginning to show signs of flexibility as the deadly frost melted away. Kim Tai had never seen anything like their unique physiology. Each strand of fur appeared to be made of some kind of organic crystal, translucent and faceted like tiny gemstones, as the aliens warmed up. These crystal strands began to catch and reflect the medical bay's lights in spectacular displays. Of color, it was beautiful, but Kim Tai was more concerned with function than beauty right now. The smallest cub had been the closest to death, its tiny body completely rigid when he'd first brought them inside. But the warming treatment was working miracles. Its breathing had stabilized, and Kim Tai could see its chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm. The larger cub had recovered more quickly, its eyes now open and alert as it watched the strange human who had saved its family. The adult alien was fully conscious now, its large eyes tracking Kim Tai's every movement with obvious intelligence. There was no fear in its gaze, only curiosity and what seemed like gratitude. Kim Tai had set up a makeshift bed using emergency blankets and storage containers, and the alien family had ranged themselves in a protective formation with the adult positioned between the cubs and Any potential threats. As Kim Tai checked their vital signs using modified medical scanners, he noticed something extraordinary happening. The adult's crystalline fur was beginning to vibrate, creating soft musical tones that filled the medical bay with hauntingly beautiful sounds. The vibrations seemed to follow complex patterns, rising and falling in what could only be described as a sophisticated form of communication. Incredible, Kim Tai whispered, immediately reaching for his portable translation computer. The device was designed to analyze and decode unknown languages, but it had never been tested on anything quite like this. He positioned the sensitive microphones near the adult alien and watched as the computer began analyzing the harmonic patterns. The alien seemed to understand what Kim Tai was trying to do. It began repeating certain sequences of vibrations, each time pointing to different objects around the medical bay. First, it pointed to itself and produced a series of low, resonant tones. Then it pointed to the cubs and created high-pitched harmonics. Finally, it gestured toward Kim Tai and produced an entirely different sequence of sounds. Kim Tai's translation software worked overtime, building a basic vocabulary from these interactions. The process was slow and often frustrating, but gradually, patterns began to emerge. The adult alien was incredibly patient, repeating phrases and correcting Kim Tai's attempts at communication with gentle adjustments to the harmonic frequencies. After several hours of this linguistic dance, Kim Tai finally managed to establish basic communication protocols. He decided to call the adult alien Bora, after the Korean word for purple, since its fur displayed beautiful purple hues when it was calm and content. Bora seemed to approve of the name, its crystalline for shimmering with what Kim Tai interpreted as pleasure. The breakthrough came when Bora began sharing more complex thoughts through the translation system. The computer's artificial intelligence had learned enough of the harmonic language to provide rough translations, though many nuances were still lost in the conversion process. Your kind. Different. Bora's vibrations translated through the computer's speakers, the electronic voice struggling to capture the subtle emotions embedded in the original harmonics. Others fear us, attack us. You help. Why? Kim Tai paused in his work, considering how to answer such a profound question. He looked at the two cubs, now playing together on the makeshift bed, their crystalline for creating tiny rainbows as they tumbled and rolled. They reminded him of puppies, innocent and trusting despite everything they'd been through. Because you needed help, Kim Tai said simply, offering a container of purified water to the cubs. They sniffed it cautiously before drinking, their trust in him growing with each passing moment. Bora's entire body seemed to shimmer with amazement, its crystalline for cycling through colors Kim Tai had never seen before. The alien's vibrations became more complex, and the translation computer worked frantically to keep up with the flood of communication in all our observations of spacefaring species. The computer translated. Such simple kindness was unheard of. The metal builders seek to harvest our crystals for their machines. The gas breathers consider us inferior because we cannot survive in their atmosphere. The hive minds view us as chaotic because we think as individuals. But you saw dying children and opened your door. Kim Tai felt a chill run down his spine that had nothing to do with the station's temperature. Bora's people had been watching other species, studying them, learning about the galaxy's various civilizations, and apparently, humanity's reputation wasn't particularly impressive. "How long have you been watching us?" Kim Tai asked, settling into a chair beside the alien family. Bora's fur shifted to deeper blues and purples as it accessed what seemed to be memories since your kind first left your home world. "We have observed your expansion, your conflicts, your treatment of those you consider different. We expected violence, exploitation, fear, The cubs had finished drinking and were now investigating Kim Tai's medical equipment with obvious curiosity. Their tiny paws were surprisingly dexterous, and they seemed to understand that the devices were delicate and important. One of them managed to activate a diagnostic scanner, jumping back in surprise when it beeped and produced a holographic display. Kim Tai chuckled and gently showed the cubs how the scanner worked, letting them play with the harmless holographic projections. Their delighted vibrations filled the medical bay with music that sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Not all humans are the same," Kim Tai explained to Bora. "Some of us believe that intelligence, regardless of its form, deserves respect and protection." Bora's crystalline fur began to glow with an inner light that Kim Tai had never seen before. The alien's vibrations became so complex that the translation computer could only capture fragments of meaning. But the emotion was clear even without words. Hope, for the first time in generations. Bora's species had encountered something they thought might be extinct in the galaxy. Genuine compassion from a stranger. The peaceful quiet of Research Station Alpha 7 was shattered by the sudden appearance of 12 Earth Command warships dropping out of hyperspace like metal predators descending on their prey. Kim Tai watched through the command center's main viewport as the massive vessels ranged themselves in perfect attack formation. Their weapon systems already glowing with deadly energy. The lead ship, a heavy cruiser bristling with plasma cannons and missile launchers, dominated the view with its imposing bulk. Research Station Alpha 7. This is Captain Lee Dong of the ECS Defender. The communication system crackled to life, with an authoritative voice that brooked no argument. "You are in violation of Interstellar Safety Protocol 7. Prepare for immediate boarding and surrender of all alien specimens for military analysis." Kim Tai's hands clenched into fists as he stared at the fleet surrounding his small station. He'd known this moment would come, but seeing the reality of it still hit him like a physical blow. These weren't scientists or diplomats. They were soldiers, and they saw Bora and her cubs as potential weapons or threats to be studied and contained. Behind him, the two alien cubs continued playing with the holographic puzzle he'd created for them. Their crystalline for chimming with musical laughter as they solved each challenge. They had no idea that their innocent games might be interrupted by military personnel who viewed them as dangerous specimens rather than intelligent children. Boris stood protectively near her young, her adult senses clearly detecting the tension radiating from Kim Tai. Her crystalline fur had shifted to darker hues of blue and black, colors Kim Tai had learned indicated worry and defensive readiness. Through their makeshift translation system, she'd been asking questions about the approaching ships for the past hour. Those vessels carry weapons designed to capture, not communicate. Boris harmonics translated through the computer. "Your species comes to take us." "Yes," before Kim Tai could answer. His long-range sensors detected something that made his blood run cold. Emerging from the ice fields on the planet's far side were three enormous vessels, unlike anything in Earth's military databases. They were crystalline constructs the size of small cities, their surfaces reflecting starlight in brilliant displays of prismatic beauty. But beauty couldn't hide the massive energy weapons that bristled from their hulls like the spines of some cosmic sea urchin. "Oh no," Kim Tai whispered, realizing the full scope of what was about to unfold. "Bora, are those your people?" Bora's fur shifted to alarmed orange and red patterns as she recognized the approaching ships. Her vibrations became urgent, almost panicked. "The war singers approach. They believe you have captured us for experimentation. They come to retrieve our family or avenge our debts." The largest of the crystalline ships was easily 3 times the size of Captain Lee Dong's flagship, its weapons already charging with energy that made space itself shimmer around them. Kim Tai's sensors registered power levels that could vaporize his station and the entire Earth Command fleet without breaking stride. ECS Defender, this is Research Station Alpha 7. Kim Tai activated the communication channel, his voice steady, despite the chaos building round him. Captain Lee, you need to stand down immediately. The aliens are not hostile, and their rescue fleet is approaching with significantly superior firepower. Negative, Station Alpha 7. Captain Lee's response was sharp and uncompromising. The command has determined these beings represent a potential threat to human security. Military analysis is not optional on his tactical display. Kim Tai watched both fleets maneuvering into combat positions. The human ships formed a defensive wall between the station and the approaching crystalline vessels, while the alien war singers spread out in a formation that would allow their massive weapons to target at multiple human ships simultaneously. The smallest alien cub, whom Kim Tai had nicknamed Spark for its tendency to make the station's lights flicker when excited, suddenly stopped playing and ran to the viewport. Its tiny paws pressed against the reinforced glass as it stared at the approaching crystalline ships, its fur cycling through rapid color changes that Bora quickly translated. Spark recognizes her ground. The mother's ship, Bora explained, her own. Harmonics heavy with emotion. The lead war singer is my mother. Commander Frost that cuts deep. She has never retreated from a battle, and she will not leave without her grandchildren. Kim Tai felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders like a lead blanket. Two advanced civilizations were about to engage in humanity's first interstellar war, and it was happening because he'd chosen to save 3 dying beings from a blizzard. The irony wasn't lost on him. His act of compassion was about to trigger massive destruction. Captain Lee, Kim Tai tried again, desperation creeping into his voice. These beings aren't prisoners or specimens. They're a family I rescued from freezing to death. If you attack them, you will be starting a war with a species that has weapons we can't match. Dr. Kim, you are out of line. Captain Lee's voice had turned cold and military precise. Stand aside and allow boarding crews to secure the aliens, or face court-martial for treason. Through the station's hull, Kim Tai could feel the vibrations as both fleets powered up their weapon systems. Energy readings spiked across his instruments as plasma cannons warmed up and missile tubes loaded. With enough firepower to crack planets, in space, the two forces faced each other like cosmic gunslingers waiting to see who would draw first. Bora moved to stand beside Kim Tai, her crystalline fur now displaying patterns he'd never seen before, swirling combinations of silver and gold that seemed to pulse within a light. Your people and mine both prepare for violence, she observed through the translator, but you stand between them, protecting children who are not even your species. Why do you risk everything for strangers? Kim Tai looked down at the 2 cubs, now clinging to their mother's legs as they sensed the tension filling the station. Spark's large eyes met his, filled with trust and innocent confusion about why the adults seemed so worried. I won't let you turn them into lab specimens, Kim Tai said firmly, activating the station's external communications to broadcast to both fleets. And I won't let fear destroy what could be friendship. The moment of truth had arrived, and everything Kim Tai said next would determine whether the galaxy's first contact between humans and an advanced alien species would end in understanding or devastation. Kim Tai stood in the center of his command room, watching death machines prepare to unleash destruction across the frozen void of space. His hands shook as he reached for the station's main communication ray, knowing that his next decision would either prevent the first interstellar war or guarantee that millions would die in the crossfire between 2 species that had never truly met. The tactical display showed a terrifying picture. Captain Lee Dong's Earth Command fleet had formed a battle line with their most powerful weapons trained on the approaching crystalline ship. Plasma cannons glowed white-hot, ready. to unleash beams of superheated energy that could cut through starship hulls like butter. Missile tubes loaded with nuclear warheads hummed with barely contained power. On the other side, the alien war singers had deployed weapons that made human technology look like children's toys. The largest crystalline ship was channeling energy through its entire structure, turning the vessel itself into a massive weapon that could probably destroy Captain Lee's entire fleet with a single devastating blast. Space itself seemed to bend and twist round their ships as reality warped under the strain of such incredible power. But in his small station, caught between these titans of destruction, two alien cubs played with holographic butterflies while their mother watched both fleets with growing sadness. Bora's crystalline fur had shifted to deep purple patterns that Kim Tai now recognized as profound grief. She knew what was coming, and she understood that her rescue would cost countless lives on both sides. There has to be another way, Kim Tai whispered, his fingers dancing across the communication controls. An idea was forming in his mind, desperate and probably foolish. But it was the only chance he could see to prevent disaster. He activated his personal data logs, the complete record of everything that had happened since that stormy night when 3 dying beings had sought shelter at his door. Every moment had been automatically recorded by the station systems. His initial hesitation, the decision to open the airlock, the hours spent nursing the alien family back to health, their first attempts at communication and the growing bond between species. "What are you doing?" Bora asked, her harmonics carrying notes of confusion as she watched Kim Tai prepare the data transmission. "Something that's either brilliant or completely insane," Kim Tai replied, uploading his personal logs to the station's main transmitter. "I'm going to show both sides what really happened here." He opened a channel to both fleets simultaneously, overriding military communication protocols with emergency broadcasting codes that couldn't be ignored or jammed. "This is Dr. Kim Tai of Research Station Alpha 7, broadcasting on all frequencies to both human and alien vessels. Before you destroy each other over a misunderstanding, I want you to see the truth." The first log entry began playing across every screen in both fleets. Kim Tai's recorded voice narrated the storm that had brought the alien family to his door, his internal struggle with protocol, and the moment he'd chosen compassion over regulations. The video showed him dragging 3 nearly frozen beings into his station, working frantically to save their lives without any thought of personal gain or scientific advancement. Captain Lee Dong's voice crackled through the communication channel, harsh with military authority. "Dr. Kim, cease this unauthorized transmission immediately. You are compromising military security." But Kim Tai ignored the order, letting the logs continue to play. The recording showed him feeding the alien cubs, creating toys for them to play with, and patiently working to establish communication with their mother. There was no sign of the cold scientific analysis that military minds expected from first contact scenarios. Instead, viewers saw simple human kindness extended to beings who desperately needed help. Bora suddenly understood what Kim Tai was trying to accomplish. Her crystalline fur began to glow with renewed hope as she moved to the communication station. "I will translate," she announced, her vibrations adding emotional context to every scene playing on the screens. "Let both our peoples understand what they are seeing." As the logs played, Bora provided running commentary that transformed simple recorded events into a story of unprecedented compassion. She explained how Kim Tai had risked his career and possibly his life to save strangers, how he'd worked tirelessly to heal children who weren't even his species, and how he'd treated their family not as specimens to be studied, but as individuals deserving of respect and care. The alien cubs, sensing something important was happening, moved to stand beside Kim Tai and their mother, Spark, the smaller cub. reached up and took Kim Tai's hand in her tiny paw. The gesture broadcast live to both fleets as a symbol of the trust that had developed between species on the human ships. Soldiers and officers who had been preparing for battle found themselves watching a story that challenged everything they'd been told about alien threats. Here was proof that intelligence and compassion weren't unique to humanity, that other species were capable of the same love, fear, and hope that defined human experience. The crystalline war singer ships began to respond first. Their massive weapons slowly powered down as Commander Frost that cuts deep recognized the truth in what she was seeing. Her granddaughter was not a prisoner, but a beloved guest in Kim Tai's care. The human had risked everything to save her family, asking for nothing in return except the chance to help. Captain Lidong's fleet took longer to react. Military discipline warring with the evidence of their own eyes, but gradually, weapon systems began to stand down as crew members throughout the fleet realized they were preparing to attack a man who embodied the best of human nature. Stand down all weapons. Captain Lidong's voice finally came through the communication channel, his tone filled with something that might have been all ships, stand down and hold position. The tension that had filled space moments before began to dissipate like morning fog. Both fleets remained in position, but the immediate threat of violence had passed. Kim Tai's gamble had worked, but the real test was yet to come. Bora stepped forward, her crystalline for now displaying patterns of silver and gold that seemed to capture and reflect the light of distant stars. Her vibrations carried across both fleets as she made a declaration that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what was possible between species. One human's kindness shows us what your people truly are, she announced, her harmonics translated into dozens of languages for the human fleet, while her own people heard the emotional truth behind her words. Not conquerors, not destroyers, protectors. This man saw dying children and opened his door. He asked for no payment, sought no advantage, claimed no glory. He simply helped because help was needed. Years later, Kim Tai stood on the observation deck of New Harmony Station, the first integrated colony where humans and Bora's people lived and worked together. Children of both species played in the common areas, their laughter creating a symphony of sound and crystalline chimes that filled the halls with joy. Human kids taught alien youngsters how to play soccer, while crystalline cubs showed their new friends how to create music with light and vibration. The transformation hadn't happened overnight. There had been months of careful negotiation, cultural exchange programs, and gradual building of trust between two species that had never imagined they could coexist. But it had all started with one man's decision to open a door during a storm. As Kim Tai watched a human girl and an alien cub working together to solve a holographic puzzle. He remembered that frozen night when everything had changed. Bora approached, her adult crystalline for now displaying permanent patterns of silver and gold that marked her as an ambassador between worlds. "Do you ever regret your decision?" she asked, her harmonics carrying warm affection after years of friendship. Kim Tai smiled, watching Spark, now grown into a young adult, teaching a group of human teenagers how to create crystalline sculptures with sound waves. "Never," he replied. "Sometimes the most human thing you can do is simply open the door." The stars beyond the observation deck seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe itself approved of what had grown from that single act of compassion. In a galaxy often defined by conflict and misunderstanding, one human had proven that kindness could bridge any gap, no matter how vast. The ND.